Hey everyone, so welcome to another installment of Distance Learning with Art. Today we're going to be working on making a historical figure into a stamp that represents kind of their life. So a lot of times throughout history you have stamps that commemorate someone who did something important with their life or did something of note. So what I'm going to be doing to start out is I'm actually going to be drawing a box. So I'm going to be drawing a box that's 6 inches by 6 inches, and this is going to become the box that I actually draw my final drawing in, because I want it to be, I want to represent it like a postage stamp, so it's a square typically, and sometimes they're rectangles, but for the purpose of my drawing, I wanted to make it a square. So I'm using a straight edge to draw that line of my 6 inch by 6 inch square. If you want to go back and kind of make it look like the wiggly edges of a stamp and how they all connect back together, that's totally fine. You can go ahead and do that as well. Okay, so now that I've done it this far, I'm going to finish doing it. Alright, so for the purpose of this demonstration, the person who I'm going to be focusing on, her name is Sally Ride. So Sally Ride was the first American astronaut, female astronaut in space. She was also the youngest astronaut to fly in space at the age of 32. She was not the first female in space overall. She was actually the third female in space, but they were the two women before her were two women who were part of the Soviet Union. So, I'm going to draw first kind of a picture of her face, and then to kind of bring home the fact that she worked for NASA and that space was a part of her thing, I'm going to include some background details in there as well. I'm going to use a pencil to draw this first. I'm going to draw kind of heavy with my pencil so that you guys can see what I'm working on. So, I'm going to make sure that when I'm drawing her, that I'm looking at an image of what she actually looks like. I want to honor her. I don't want to just kind of guess what she looks like. So one of the things that I'm noticing about her is that she has a very kind of square jaw. So I'm going through and I'm making short, sketchy lines to draw her face. So notice how I started out with the flat side of her face here, and then I drew the top of her head, and then started out by her chin. So neck, the picture that I'm looking at is from the side. She's got a collar on. And again, I want to draw her in a light that represents what she was famous for. So the shirt that she has on has the NASA logo on it. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to get that in the way that I've drawn her here, but I'm showing her in her uniform that she would have worn at NASA. So that is important to who she is and the accomplishment that she achieved. Again, anytime you make a mistake, just go back and erase it. No big deal. Alright. So now remember, eyes are in the middle of your head. I'm actually just going to draw kind of a line here to kind of divide up the picture plane. She's looking to the side like this, so it curves around. Alright. So her eye shape, a lot of times we focus like hardcore on eyes or ovals, things like that. And I want to actually spend some time, since I'm looking at an image of her, to actually figure out how her eye shape is different from other people's. So her eyes, and again I'm always looking back and forth between a picture, are kind of flat on the top and then swoop down, come down just a little bit. She doesn't have very wide open eyes. That's there, inside part. And I'm really thinking this through, like what it should look like. She doesn't have strong pronounced eyelids, so I'm not going to spend too much time doing that. And her eyebrows are thinner in the middle, and they actually get thicker on the outside for her. And again, A lot of times when we're drawing things in class, we're focused on kind of the general of what it looks like. But because I have an image, I can really focus on what makes her an individual and what makes her body proportions unique. Notice how I went and I measured the eyes because I was trying to make them about the same size. And this eyebrow is more consistent all the way through with its shape. It's more of a curve like that. Her nose is up a little bit higher, so remember, noses go halfway between the eyes and the chin. For her mouth, or for her nose, it's up a little bit higher, because remember, you always have one section, whether it's between chin and nose and eyes, or eyes and forehead, that's a little bit smaller than the other ones. For her, it's her nose space. Her nose, it's kind of flat on the bottom. It comes out on the edges. Kind of a very rectangular nostril shape. And then she's got a very pronounced nose area up here. And then I can go back and erase this line. She's got very curly hair. I'll worry about that in a minute. In this picture, she's smiling. Drawing teeth is a challenge, so I'll show you a trick on how to do those. So I'm drawing the opening of the mouth. Her opening of her mouth is actually a little bit smaller. So one of the things I want you to notice as I'm drawing this is, again, I'm always looking back and forth between the picture. I'm never making assumptions of what this person looks like, because again, they did something of note. They accomplished something that was important in their life, and I really want to make sure that I'm giving her justice in how I'm representing her. So there. And then for teeth, I'm going to come back and I'm actually just going to draw the top part of the teeth, just like that, how they come down, but I'm not going to draw each individual tooth. I'm going to draw the gum line, and then about here just goes back, and draw the line of where teeth go. But it's less important to draw all of the teeth and more important to kind of hint at where the teeth go. And then again, her lip. She's got a smile here, kind of bring that up, and then the lines of her face. Lines around here. And then she's got very, very curly hair. Almost no forehead showing. I'm just drawing the waves going in different directions. See the bottom of her ears. Remember, ears line up with the nose. Bottom of the ears do at least. I'm not going to draw all of it because her hair is going to be covering most of it. Again, it's very, very curly. I'm drawing it in sections. And a lot of times when you have curly hair, it sticks off of your head. Okay, and now I can come back and start to erase my guidelines. And I could worry about shading and other details like that later on. But in general, that's a pretty rough representation of what she looks like. And I can erase this. Alright, so one of the other things about her was she traveled in space. So she orbited the Earth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the background, Earth, and maybe you can see South America. do a rough outline of what that looks like. And over here you can see the edge of Australia and Arctic at the bottom. And she also worked for NASA, so maybe I want to include that NASA logo. So maybe in the background, so NASA's logo is a big, giant sphere or circle, and then the NASA logo that goes around it. For this, I'm gonna, oops, I think I froze. I'll catch up in a second. I'm gonna draw myself some guidelines to do the NASA lettering. So 2 parallel lines, and I'm gonna make sure that all of my letters come back down and finish up at that line. I'm really paying attention to how NASA, how their logo and their font is different. So they have very skinny, upright pieces, so that end part is very skinny, and they have a little loop at the end of the letters. It's a little curve. And then the A. So lettering is also important. You guys have learned some lettering before in projects. So guidelines, very important things. And curves at the bottom. I apologize for the trash truck that's coming by. If you hear that noise in the background. This, and then the last A. Kind of running out of room here, but it's okay if it goes off the paper. And again, if you have 2 letters that are the same, try your best to make them as similar or the same as possible. Kind of going back. So there's my NASA. And then there's the rest of the logo. There's like a big thing that kind of goes around it, and then another that goes across. So representing kind of the accomplishment. All right, so that's about it for this lesson. If you have questions, as always, let me know. Send me an email, though, with what this looks like. I'd love to see what you're working on. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And if you want to color it in, you totally can. All right, you guys, have a great day.